Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/theobservernj. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the newsroom, the home studio tonight on the 4th night of November in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where it is you are in the country. And, of course, here in the Northeast, we have a lot of local big races to talk to you about today. And we're early on in the vote tally. You know, the polls close at 8 o'clock, but the county starts doing a big dump of votes right at the top of the hour. And these are the people who voted over the weekend. And this is what the early results are, as you can see right here on your screen. In the early going, and mind you, there is still a ways to go here. Mayor Carol Jean Doyle right now has 1,934 votes to Sidney Ferreira's 854. That's a 2-to-1 margin so far. In the first ward, it is right now, so far, Mary Trine DeCastro, who is the incumbent with 363 votes, to Smiley Wallace, 113 votes in the first ward. Again, remember, this is all very early because these are just the early vote tallies, but we'll get to that in a minute. In the second ward, the incumbent, Jose Rodriguez, is leading 359 votes to 159 votes. That is a 200-vote margin there. See, I can even do some math on occasion. In the third ward, Fred Estes, also the incumbent, 67.95% of the vote, has 653 to George Santos's 305. And as we get down to the bottom here into the fourth ward, Councilman Jerry Facito, the incumbent, has 501 votes right now to Anthony Morales' 254 votes. Now, again, I want to reset this for all of you who are watching today, especially anybody who may be joining us from out of the area. This is very, very early in the night. We are talking, it's 8:15 right now. The polls have been closed for only 15 minutes at this point. And so it's not fair to say that the what you see today right now will necessarily reflect what the ultimate outcome of the election is. However, I will tell you this, that in the last two mayoral elections in the town of Kearny, going back to 2023 and then 2021, which really wasn't a big deal because it wasn't contested, but the early votes often reflect the complete numbers in the long run. It doesn't often change. And let's go back to the screen here just for a minute and realize what we're talking about here. If you look at these numbers right now, these numbers indicate almost 1,200 vote differential, 1,100 and some odd votes differential. That's going to be a big, big hill for Mr. Ferreira to climb in order to overcome that and then overtake the numbers that the mayor will receive. We still have plenty of time, though. He still has almost 31% of the vote when all is said and done. Same thing here. Look at the first ward. You know, that differential is not impossible. It is certainly by no means an impossible amount of votes to make up once we start getting into the votes that happened today. But remember, all of these votes were from all of last week when people were showing up at town hall and voting in person in the town hall voting booths. There were a couple of booths that were set up. This is a new, not so much a new thing anymore with this early voting. And also there are votes that are done by hand as well. I, in fact, vote by mail all the time and sent my ballot back on the 23rd of September, just to show you how long this has been going on. But So here we are now. I'll just go back to this again. Joe Rodriguez has about 359 to Margarita Fernandez is 159. Not insurmountable by any means when you consider that we'll probably see a large, I would imagine that there'll be a big number of people who voted today. Although, I have to tell you, I have heard from a lot of different sources from all across the state that the turnout has been significantly lower for a gubernatorial race. Why that is, I don't know. We're 1 year out from a presidential election, one of the most vocal elections in the history of this country. But here we are, and the turnout seemed to be pretty low from all the sources that I spoke with during the course of the day today. What does that mean? I have no idea, and we'll figure that out as we get further along into this dissection of the results when we get more results. Now, I have to also let you all know this, too. We're going to stay on the air, but I'm not going to talk to you for hours upon hours on end here because it's going to be a while where it'll eventually the results will be announced. So what we'll probably do is go on standby for a little while and then join you again when the results start to update. My supposition based on previous years is that will happen at around 9 o'clock. That's usually what it is, because you have to remember something here. These numbers, they will probably know better at the candidates' headquarters. The Ferreira team is at the VFW on Belgrove Drive, and right next door at the American Legion are the Doyle team, and they can get numbers that are brought in by runners who go to either the town hall or to the voting locations and bring those numbers to the candidates so that they have an early idea. But when it comes to these numbers that you see here on the screen right now, those were all tallied earlier, but the new results will take some time because they have to go from the voting locations to Pat Carpenter, the town clerk, who then has to turn around and transmit these numbers to the Hudson County clerk, and then they get reported here on this website. Now, for those of you who don't necessarily want to wait around for me to give you a dissection of what the results are, what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to put up on the screen the web address where you can go and find all of these. And in fact, just to make it easier, what I'm going to do is just give me a second here. You know, this is a live broadcast, so it's a little bit different than a normal broadcast. So you might get a little bit of silence here once in a while. Just bear with me for a minute if you can. I want to get the Hudson County Clerk's actual website because it's I think it's hudsoncountyclerk.org, hudsoncountyclerk.org. I'm going to put that up on the screen so that you have that. But you can certainly visit there, and as those numbers get updated, you'll be able to just check them out on your own. So just give me 1 second, if you don't mind. I am getting this ready for the screen so that you can all see what the address is for the Hudson County Clerk's office. And I know listen, this is a very busy day for the Hudson County Clerk. He's got a lot of work to do. All of the municipal clerks will have a lot of work to do. But right here, this is what you're seeing right now. This is the web address, hudsoncountyclerk.org. Just visit there, and you'll be able to see what those up-to-the-minute numbers are as they do pour in over the next hour. A few things about this race so far. This was a very, very contentious election up until today. This is an incumbent in Mayor Carol Jean Doyle, who was first elected to the Kearny Town Council in 1996. In 1995, she was a candidate as a Democrat for mayor, and she lost pretty handily to the former mayor, Leo Vartan, back in 1995. But she didn't give up, and she decided that she wanted to get herself back in. She did then serve for almost 30 years. In 2023, she was elected in an election of three people. It was Mayor Doyle against Sidney Ferreira once again back in 2023, and Peter Santana, the former second ward councilman in the town of Kearny. She came in first. Mayor Doyle, and then it was Ferreira who came in second, and then it was Peter Santana who came in third place. In 2025, however, Mr. Ferreira had a significant, what appears to be, cash advantage over the Democratic Party. If you looked at some of the mailers that went out over the course of, I guess since June, many of them were paid for by the Republican Party, different what appeared to be political action committees, and that sort of thing. So a lot of money, when all is said and done, was spent on this election for little Kearny. And we'll see when all is said and done how much money was spent, but it seemed like it was an inordinate amount of money. And if you paid attention to this race and are a registered voter, you know that there were times where you were getting certain amount of flyers. It seemed like every week from the Republicans and from Sidney Ferreira's team. And so that is not a cheap proposition. Mailers are very expensive because the postage prices are high. You get somewhat of a discount by having one of those permits, but it's still very, very costly to have thousands upon thousands of things that are sent out. Let's just take a look at this first ward race. What I can tell you is I really don't know Smiley Walla, other than that he is the owner and proprietor of Bellaray Pizza in Kearny. Mary Trine DeCastro has been a councilwoman for many years. I think this will be her 9th year. And she is a nurse. She is a nurse. And in fact, I believe she is a nurse in Hudson County. All right, now, let's move down here. We're going to the second ward. Joe Rodriguez has been in the insurance business for a long time. Margarita Fernandez was involved in the last couple of years. She was very, very vocal about parking permits in the town of Kearny, and she had some involvement with the whole sewer separation project that former Councilman Rich Kanopka spearheaded many, many years ago. So there's that. Fred Esteves is retired military. He has been a member of the Democratic Party for many, many years, and Fred has also been a member of a series of boards in the town of Kearny, and so he brings that experience with him, at least now, into this race. George Santos owns a chain of laundromats in the town of Kearny. George has Super Laundromat on Kearny Avenue. There's another one on Midland Avenue, and there are two on Kearny Avenue. There's one closer to Bergen, and then there's one right across the street from the Observer's office at the corner between Sealy and West Bennett Avenue. And George has been very, very, very supportive. I can tell you this, for the Kearny Public School Uniform Exchange. He and his brother Danny have donated countless hours to launder the uniforms over the years, and he's always done some great work in the background, and he doesn't really ever talk about it too much. So I wanted to make sure you all knew that if you didn't already. And then Jerry Facito, most people know Jerry. Jerry was a teacher in the Kearny school system for many, many years. He did a lot of work with the school children. Most young adults now remember Jerry at some point in the classroom. Anthony Morales, I have to be honest with you, I know nothing about him. I know he moved to Kearny a couple of years ago, but I know absolutely very, very little about Anthony. But I know he's been here for a couple of years now, and this would be his first run for office. So that's where we stand right now. It is 27 minutes past 8 on election night. Once again, if you just happen to be joining us, what you see right now on the screen are only early votes. We have not seen any updates yet. at 8:30 almost to the tally for same-day voting from today. But that will start to flow in, I would think, in about an hour or so. So we're going to go on standby for a little while because I don't want to just bore you to death with talking. And as soon as we get any updates, we will join you right back here on the air. But we're not going to end the broadcast by any means because we want to just continue to go along with this so that we can come right back to you when we have more to tell you about. Again, if you don't want to sit around and wait for me or for us, go to hudsoncountyclerk.org. It's right there on the screen. You can't miss it. This will be updated periodically, and I would think you'll start to see a big change in about a half an hour or so. But if it happens before that, we will rejoin you. So we're going to go on standby for a little while. We have a chat room in a lot of the platforms that we're on here today. And we are broadcasting on Facebook. We are broadcasting on Twitter. We are broadcasting on, what else? YouTube, absolutely. But we will see what happens when all is said and done. But that's where we are right now. We will join you as soon as we have any updates. So we'll be right back once that happens. Stand by, everybody. All right, everybody, this is the first update that I have seen so far. Again, very, very small amount of an update. It looks like that's probably just one district, but you'll see that the numbers have jumped from what it was to 2,100 votes for Mayor Carol Jean Doyle to 946 for Sidney J. Ferreira. Now let's just go down here. I guess, all right, now if you're looking at the third ward, here 11% of the third ward are in, so that's probably where those votes for the mayor's race came in that we just got that update on. And you'll see here that Fred Esteves is now at 817 to 390. Very similar percentage as it was before when we were with you earlier with the early voting numbers. But that was the first update so far. And again, it appears to be one district only in the third ward in Kearny. But we will see as we get a little bit further. So we're going to keep this up on the screen for you, and instead we're going to just go back on standby for a little while, but as soon as we know more, we will join you again. So we'll be back in a few minutes, everybody. Thanks. All right, everybody, it's Kevin Canessa. I am back here on the air with you right now. And what I can tell you at this hour is that the Doyle team has claimed on its Facebook page a complete sweep of the election tonight. Now, they, I will remind you, have access to a lot of the results that were coming in from the different districts across the town, which I do not have access to. And so I can't confirm it completely, but usually when a candidate declares a victory in social media, it's very rare that somebody has declared victory. So I am going to work to get the actual numbers, and in order to do that, I have to make phone calls and see what I can find for you. But it does appear that the Democrats have swept the Republican ticket at this point at 8:47 p.m. on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting as many results as I can, and when I am able to officially give you those numbers, I will join you later this evening. It might be a while, but as I said, they are declaring that they have won the election, have the Democrats. We will see for sure when we get those official numbers. All right, that's going to be it for this broadcast now, but as soon as I can come back to you with more, I will let you know. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you a little bit later on. Bye-bye.